YouTube Ozzy in the Go Nows is back, recapping Week 8 of the NFL. We're through every game but that Monday night game. This one's going to be a little quicker than past ones, so I apologize in advance here just because the trade deadline's coming up. I want to get at least one more video out. I want to get predictions out before they actually happen as well, so we're going to have to just get through my main points of each of these games here. We'll be covering that final game of Week 8 every game on our Twitter at GoNowsNFL. There's also latest news, rumors on the trade deadline. Some interesting stuff came out this morning, so we were talking about it on there. So link pin in the comments for that, as well as anything else on your screen that you're looking for. Like, subscribe to notifications on full NFL coverage. We have trade deadline videos already out there, and then more to come, of course, as well. So join us, be much appreciated. So Thursday game, real quick. Weird game because the way it started, I was like, I kind of get the feeling the Bucs are going to win this game. Like, I'm going to be wrong about the Ravens pick. The Bucs are going to win this game. The Ravens got 3 on the board right away because that, mess up by the Bucs. A player ran into their own punt returner, fumbled the punt, obviously. But you can kind of tell the Bucs were playing good defense and they were instantly moving the ball. Like the first 4 possessions, like Bucs are going to win this game, it feels like. But Lamar was a little off. Dealing with the pressure, the way he was scrambling backwards, kind of turning the wrong way, missing some throws. So Lamar was off in the first half for sure. Demarcus Robinson had a pretty good game. Isaiah Likely ended up having a pretty good game too as well. Drake, they got Edwards going as well, but he got injured. But second half adjustments and the game plan for the second half was outstanding. They figured out how to open things up. They wanted to go quicker. So this is a great job by Roman, Harbaugh, these guys. I think Roman's one of those guys where people kind of just rip. Like I see a lot from fans. There's quite a few coaches throughout the league that are wrongfully, bashed a little bit, and they're getting their jobs called for, taken away, and that's definitely a wrong one there. Roman has that offense built for Lamar Jackson. He's very good at adjusting, figuring out what to do. We saw that in this game, so I think they need him in there. I really do. So, but yeah, great job by Lamar in the second half. I talk about Demarcus Robinson got some big plays going. We felt like by far their best receiver. Likely was great, but yeah, I don't know what happened to the Bucs, and the Ravens adjusted, the Bucs didn't, I suppose. So the Ravens, I guess, outcoached them. But early, the Bucs looked very good in this game. It didn't help that Shaq Barrett went down. They were even able to run the ball earlier in this game. Brady was off on some throws. He was still hitting some Brady-type throws, though. It's just weird. I think I said it last week. It's just weird that this team doesn't have enough. Like, it's just so weird. Like, because they have talent everywhere, but it's just like... It just feels like I'm watching a team that we know doesn't have enough, like a team that we know is going to be picking maybe in the top 15 or something in the draft, bottom 15 in the league. It's just like it just feels like one of those teams where it's like it should look on paper like an underwhelming roster, but it's really not. I know they were missing some guys in the secondary in this game. Didn't really show a whole lot. I guess it did at the end of the second half, but it's been a tough go for the Bucs. Love that second half performance from the Ravens. The London game, Broncos Jags 21-17. I predicted 2016 Broncos, so we're right there. This is just the same Jags. It's the same Jags, and this is kind of why I said after last week, because I picked them to beat the Giants last week. I thought they did enough to win that game. They kind of let it slip away, and I said I'm going to have a hard time picking them again because even when they outplay teams or even when there's games they should win, they can't figure out how to win it. This is probably another one they should win, but they can't figure it out. The Broncos were starting off real slow. I mean, Russ had an interception just severely underthrown. I just don't know if he didn't see the corner or what, or just his arm didn't match his brain. I don't know. And then Trevor Lawrence throws a beauty of a ball to Evan Ingram for a touchdown. Just an absolute beauty of a ball. So it's like, all right, maybe a good day for Trevor Lawrence, but that kind of went south, and the Jags, were about to make it ugly. I mean, they're about to get up, get 14 on the board right away. They're on, in with the 2 yard line and fighting to get in, and Lawrence just throws it. He just doesn't see Justin Simmons. Simmons had to jump a bit for it. It was good reactions by him, but he really threw it right to Simmons. So it's just an awful decision, awful throw by Lawrence, and that was the game to me. That's very early in the game, but that was the momentum changer, a killer for the Jags. It's just a complete game changer, and that completely changed the game. And they still had an opportunity to win. Obviously, the Broncos score, get down there. And Judy, it's good to see Judy Hamler made that big play downfield. Russ, good to see these guys clutching up. It's good to see it. They didn't do a whole lot in this game. I thought Judy overall did, but it's good to see them clutching up there, especially downfield. So they get on the board, and then Lawrence throws another pick, and it's pretty much ball game there. At the very end of the game, the Broncos, I guess interesting decision. Go for it, end the game, kick the field goal, make it a 7-point game with 30 seconds left. And he almost didn't get that. It was actually really close. I thought live he didn't get it, but so that could have, Hackett could be getting ripped right now if they didn't get that. So, but I don't mind it. Like, go put the game away. I don't really mind it. It's just it was a tough decision, I suppose, that he'd probably be getting ripped again if it didn't go right. But the Broncos found a way to win at the end. The play of the game was that Simmons interception. Good reaction by him. And just Lawrence can't have a complete game. It feels like it's just you cannot turn the ball over in that moment. It's good to see ETN tearing it up though. He's due for at least one explosive deep run a game. So fun to watch. But Jags can't close out games. They could have a lot more wins. They could have a lot more wins right now. They should have many more wins, but it's their identity now. So I think sometimes people go, well, this team's better than their record because they should have a lot more wins, and the Jags should have a lot more wins. But that's who they are. That's just who they are. They can't close out games. So that's kind of their identity right now. So I can't really sit here and say they're better. They should have a better record, but to me, it's different than they should have I'm saying they should have a better record, but that's different than saying they're better than their record. I mean, they are what their record is because they cannot close games. Hopefully that makes some sense there. Panthers and Falcons, who would have thought, one, that this was going to be a shootout, an absolute shootout, in the fashion it was. Number two, who would have thought that it would be a shootout like that for the lead in the NFC South? Nobody would have thought that. So the Falcons lead the NFC South right now. The Panthers probably should. It would have been crazy if the Panthers are winning the NFC South right now, but it probably should have been the way it is. They let this one slip away for obvious reasons at the end of the game. But that would have been wild. They kind of went in that tank mode, and all of a sudden they're winning the division. But the Falcons take the lead now. Crazy game here because the way it started off, the Panthers were out playing the Falcons. Mariota was playing very sloppy early in this game, just very early. It looked like he was going to have a really bad day. But he really turned it around, made some clutch plays. After that point, not too many incompletions either. They got Pitts going finally, which is great to see. The running backs got going. Huntley led the day there. Speaking of running backs, Foreman had a monster day, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards easily. So it does seem like we knew we could run on the Panthers. They're very good usually with their coverage. And they were just letting Mariota buy some extra time. That was kind of the problem. But, I think you can run on both these teams. I think we've seen that in the Falcons in the past. Some teams just stopped running on them for some reason in the past in this year, I mean. And ended up being just a very entertaining, wild game, just back and forth. You think, the Panthers scored there, not much time with the Falcons. Now the Falcons went and scored. All right, now the Panthers they're in big trouble, and then PJ Walker unleashes that ridiculous bomb, perfect throw to DJ Moore. DJ Moore separating against 2 guys back there, so just all around a great play from Walker and Moore, and then touchdown, rips off his helmet. They throw the flag, and apparently, why you see it called sometimes and sometimes not when a player rips off their helmet is because if it's in the field of play or not. So apparently, DJ Moore was outside of the end zone, so it maybe shouldn't have been called. That's tough for the refs, though, to kind of keep track because I think he was a step outside of the end zone, so it's not like it's bad if the refs end up being wrong, but it's not like one of those phantom things. At all, because it's just a little tricky maybe. But at the end of the day, DJ Moore should still keep his helmet on, obviously. Can kind of control the emotions there. You can be emotional, you can celebrate, but just to rip your helmet off like that, we've seen guys get called time and time again. Brutal decision. Then he missed the extra point, which ends up being like a 48-yarder, so it's really not easy, but you expect kickers to make 48 yarders in that moment. And they have they have it wrapped up in overtime, and Pinheiro misses another very makeable kick there, so that's pretty brutal as well. So the Panthers should have won this game in regulation, and they should have won it in overtime as well. But the Falcons then clutch up, because it was off a C.J. Henderson interception too. Mariota throws a pick early overtime, so I mean they should have closed it out there. But then the Falcons get down there, find a way to win. They were very clutch. See, Bird had a big play in this game too. A lot of massive explosive plays in this game. Is really what it was, and back and forth. So I was just surprised at the lack of defense. They just wore out at the end. It's 37-34. I know it went to overtime, but it's just shocking to me, and it's shocking that the winner Falcons are now the division leader, and it would be even more shocking the Panthers were the division leader, but still like to think the Bucs and the Saints maybe could figure it out and come back. But yeah, I mean, it's a massive win, even though it wasn't really pretty. I mean, they put up 37 points, so that's something to be excited with the Falcons. But the Panthers should have had that one. Did they want to win it? Not that they lost it on purpose or anything, but are they that bummed that they lost that game? I'm sure the players are for sure. But yeah, wild one. Bears and Cowboys. I mean, the Bears continue to score. I mean, that's a positive here. They surprised the world, and really, they ran the offense they should have been running. It's just weird how they add those things in Week 7 against the Patriots, but they were able to score very well against somewhat of a tough defense. Now you play the best defense in football, and they did better than really anybody's done against them. And there was some, Dak had a bad interception when the Bears started in their territory. There was just some explosive plays that kind of got them down there, but they still made those plays, obviously. So I guess there's some sort of positive in that for the Bears, even though they lost by 20 points. It's kind of funny now saying it out loud, but there, maybe some promise in that offense there. Khalil Herbert's once again, he's looked like the better back than Montgomery, mainly because the scheme fit. Just quicker, better getting outside, a little more explosive in terms of hitting that big play. And Montgomery had that fumble as well, which Herbert I thought had a fumble. That was a weird one. That fumble, the Bears ended up scoring on. That was super weird because they showed one angle, and I was like, his knee's down. And then they showed the other angle, and it looked like the ball was out. Did they determine he got it back? I don't know if you can do that. And it was like a millisecond. And then, so one angle, I'm like, his knee's down. And one angle, I'm like, no, that's definitely a fumble. So it was really weird. I was surprised that they did not keep the rule. That was actually rare of them to not keep the ruling on the field there. So, but they end up getting the Cowboys end up getting a scoop and score on that Montgomery fumble. Obviously, Parsons got it. Fields jumped over him. People ripping Fields for that. And I guess you should. You should understand the situation, but it's like you see it in slow mo, like that. It's like I'm about to take a shot to the knees, kind of reaction. Like he probably didn't even think jump. He kind of just did it. Maybe he thought he brushed him or something. So I'm not going to overreact too much from that. But I guess understand the situation. But we see those plays in slow mo over and over again, and you can't forget how fast those actually are going. So. Not really a big deal to me. I mean, they end up scoring off it, so it was a big deal for the game. But, yeah, the Cowboys get the job done. I saw Dak was a little beat up, but he stayed in the game. They were running him a lot early, so they really need to slow down on that. Good to see Tony Pollard, play as RB1, because he tore it up. I mean, he still only got 14 carries, which they're up this whole game. I think he got more carries, but they just don't want to overdo it with him, apparently, which is odd, but I don't know why. But yeah, Pollard absolutely tore it up. He's very, very solid. He's going to be a free agent. Is somebody going to pay him big money to be that RB1? I can see it there. But yeah, the Cowboys offense. It's good to see the Cowboys offense get rolling because we know what their defense is about. There's been some questions with the offense staying consistent. Especially with Dak coming back from that injury, they weren't super explosive against the Lions last week, and they showed it this week against Bears defense, which was pretty damn stout just a week ago. So pretty good showing for the Cowboys. Defense had some moments where they allowed some big plays they normally don't. But, yeah, Cowboys keep on rolling here. Dolphins, Lions. Lions let another one get away here. They were up 21-7 at one point, 27-17 or 27-14. Had 27 at halftime, and they finished with 27 points. So it just can't happen because you show that you're very capable of moving the ball, scoring points on offense. They showed it for a stretch of the season, and then they kind of stopped. Patriots game, Cowboys game, games like that. And then it looked really good early in this game. It's like, okay, they figured something out. They're back. They can score now. Using multiple different players. It looks like a very good offense. And then second half happened. And credit to the Dolphins for adjusting on defense. The offense was there the whole game. The offense was very explosive the whole game, and they had to come back. They had to finish. They did that, so credit to them. But credit to the coaching staff, defensively, the defensive players adjusting there in the second half because they held the Lions 27, which they just gave them big-time problems in the first half. Really what it is they adjust. The Lions don't have any adjustments, during the game. I just don't really feel like – I mean, they have a script on offense, the Lions, and it most weeks it's worked. Sometimes it hasn't, and they kind of been shut down the rest of the game. We saw that again against the last two games before this. So there's really no – I mean, again, there's a game plan with the script, but there's no game plan. There's no adjustments. There's no, there's no in-game minds going on, like in-game thinking going on. I've been saying that, and you get the feel. It's the feeling you get while watching them. It's just kind of, let's go out there and play. Let's go out there and let's go out there and hit guys. Let's go out there and bite some kneecaps. That's just what the feeling I've got from them for the last since last year. There's really the kind of let's go with the flow. Let's they're not tweaking anything. They're not adjusting anything. They're like, it's just kind of like, oh, Dolphins are coming back. Let's sit back and let's watch this. They can motivate, but it's not really the same. So I don't know if they're going to make a change. I think they should. At the end of the season with the staff here, you can't trust the defense at all. Waddle and Hill, everything was kind of free for them. They were worried about getting beaten deep, get beat deep, and then they would just get free first downs right at the sticks. It's like the same thing over and over. It feels like I'm watching the same play on repeat there. So, credit the Dolphins to keep on rolling. They kept the offense looked really good. It looked like it did in the beginning of that Steelers game, but then the Steelers made adjustments. They actually figured something out, and that was the difference. We're looking at this game here. But, Dolphins, Tua, with him in there, another win, so that looks really good. I thought it was interesting that DeAndre Swift, the Lions couldn't really get him going. Were they just trying to limit him because he's coming off injury? Did he retweak something? Or they just, because his carries weren't going really anywhere, or did they just abandon it too early? So some questions there with the Lions as well. I thought the Dolphins offensive line did a really good job protecting as well. But it's another good win for the Dolphins. Had to come back from down quite a bit. Like they held the Lions at 27, the whole second half. Cardinals Vikings. This one turned out. There was a stretch of this game where it's like, is this game a defensive game? It was weird because it was like both teams had these big plays on offense. They showed they could move the ball, but it's like, is this, it's low scoring. Like, how? Like, is this defensive? And all of a sudden it started going. They started getting points, both teams back and forth. The Vikings were up by 2 scores, and it's like, all right, I think the Vikings are probably going to win this game. It's like, wait, the Cardinals have scored in like 2 seconds, or moved the ball down the field in, realistically a minute or two. It's like, wait, it's not over. And then the Vikings score, and then if they would have made the extra point, the game really would have felt over, but they did not, so it kept it a one-possession game. It was a massive extra point to miss, too. So that game probably would have been over a long time ago. The Cardinals actually had a shot the last drive of the game, but that kind of kept it. And it feels like the Vikings missed those. Greg Joseph's he missed a kick early in this game where it just went off a Cardinals player's face mask. That's pretty bad, for that to happen. It's not like it's a 70-yard kick, and he misses that extra point the worst time. He missed one against the Saints, I believe, too. And then the Saints had a shot to tie the game at the very end. So that just can't happen because this game would have been over quite a bit ago, if it wasn't for that. But, both teams had some explosive plays on offense. DeAndre Hopkins had a massive game for the Cardinals. Kyler's just it's the same thing. It's kind of been going. He's kind of hit or miss, makes some mistakes. He had a couple interceptions that obviously were not good. One, I think he was hit or was kind of bracing to get hit on. The second one was pretty bad. Just an overthrow right to the Vikings safety, Cameron Bynum. So the Cardinals just made, I think that's what it came down to. The Cardinals kind of just made too many mistakes in this one. The Vikings defense, they give up some, looks like free yards, free plays where guys are just kind of wide open. They're too far off. It's kind of been the thing all year. But they continue to make clutch plays on defense. They continue to make plays. Zadarius Smith was an absolute animal in this game. 3 sacks and a big-time pass deflection. One of the sacks came at the end, too, which was massive. Harrison Smith got another interception. So, those two guys have really been making big-time plays for the Vikings this year, and it showed up in a game like this. I thought Patrick Peterson made some plays as well against his former team, but the Vikings just made more clutch plays than them. I wish the Vikings would have got Cook and Madison the ball a little bit more. They ran pretty well. Cook had 20 carries for well over 100 yards. Madison was averaging a good amount of yards per carry. The Cardinals seemed to have a tough time tackling him. So, the Vikings, I know it's Kevin O'Connell's offense. They're more pass first. It's what the Vikings kind of needed because they have those weapons and Kirk can throw it, obviously. But you kind of went from one extreme to another. They were kind of just run, pass before. It's like, live and die by the run to now it's live and die by the pass. Like when your running backs are kind of working and, use them a little bit, especially when you have the lead. A lot of times they were going deep on short yardage. 4th and short, 3rd and short, 2nd and short. Maybe a little too much of that, but they scored 34 points, so I can't complain too much about them. They just find ways to get the job done. So the Cardinals, this is one they could have won, really. Just too many mistakes, which, again, the Vikings made a mistake of that extra point. That would have ended the game a lot earlier, probably. But the Cardinals did make too many mistakes here. They had that fumbled punt, too, which was a wild kick. They put the angle Wright put on that punt was weird, so I guess credit to the punter there. Just too many mistakes from the Cardinals once again here. But there was times where it's like you move the ball so easily, and then all of a sudden you can't move the ball. I mean, Murray got sacked 4 times too, which was kind of unexpected. So it's like why the so hot, so cold, back and forth. But yeah, it's good to see Hopkins playing well. Had that one-handed touchdown catch, so it was ended up being a pretty entertaining game. The Vikings keep rolling though. They keep finding ways to win in the end. Will it keep up? They play the Commanders next, and they got a tough stretch with the Bills and the Cowboys, so that should be interesting. Raiders Saints, I guess apparently the Raiders stink. They do stink. Thought kind of they figured it out. Maybe I thought the Chiefs game they played a good game. Even though they lost, I'm like, they might have figured something out, and they go and beat the Texans. They scored, 38 points, whatever. I know it's the Texans, but maybe they figured something out, but then here they just drop a 0. They drop a donut against the Saints. Just look bad on both sides of the ball. Just no life, it felt like. Just once they got down, no life. And I see a lot of people blaming the defense. I think I seen like a Raiders writer on Twitter. It's like, saying the defense is an issue, coaching's an issue, just didn't mention anything about the offense. They scored 0 points. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the main problem there. The team with that, Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and all the other weapons. I sit here and list them. All the other weapons they have. You score 0 points. Like against the Saints team that they were supposed to, on paper they look good on defense. They're supposed to have a good defense, but they just haven't so far this year. Plain and simple. So what happened to where you can't score any points? Like, it's just so confusing to me. And Josh Jacobs, to me, has been their best offensive player this year. And I understand you get down and you can't run him anymore, but it was a little weird to see him only get 10 carries, especially in a McDaniels offense. So again, at the point, like, they kind of had to stop running the ball because they had to come back with so little time. They're down 24-0, even when they're down 17-0. Then it's understandable. You have to throw the ball, especially when you're supposed to be capable of doing that. But earlier in this game, I mean, Jacob should have had, enough carries to keep them in this game way before the 17-0 or whatever. So maybe abandoned that a little too early, perhaps. But just nothing going. Carr had a really bad pick early in this game, just threw it right to the defense. It's just, and Adams had a drop at one point. It wasn't the easiest thing. It was on the sideline. It's just, I think he was looking at his feet because he mishandled his feet against the Chiefs. He was looking at his feet instead of catching the ball. So it's just stupid mistakes right now. Just looking at Adams and Aaron Rodgers, it's like we knew they would probably miss each other, but not this much. They miss each other a lot. Like, it looks like they need each other a lot more. They don't look like as good as players as we thought, without each other. It's pretty weird. And Carr's just not doing it for him right now. So Carr has his really good moments too, and not really in this game, but I just don't get why they can't put it together. But to the Saints, this is a dominant win for the Saints, 24-0, and this kind of keeps them alive for sure in the NFC South. In a game like this, it's like, I know the Falcons lead and the Panthers are causing problems right now. The Panthers beat the Saints too. So you put all that together, it's like, all right, maybe the Panthers and the Falcons are like, maybe they belong on top. But I still get the feeling when I look at a Saints team like this, it's like, and the Bucs probably figured it out, but look at this week, with the Saints like this, it's like, all right, this is the team. This is the team that has the best shot to maybe win that division, and this is that Saints team. I mean, this actually felt like the Saints. That's what I'm saying. It just felt like the Saints that we should have been seeing all year, and they've had their moments where they could have, won more games. They could have, even the Cardinals game, it looks like on the score or how that game finished, or if you just watched the highlights, or if you tuned in for a portion of that game, looked like the Cardinals beat them up pretty good, but it was a winnable game. Just the pick sixes really hurt them. So they had games like that. There was other games too that they could have won, but they didn't. But even in those games, they didn't really feel like the Saints I expected or the old Saints there, mainly with defense, I should say, because offense, they were moving the ball in those games. They just had stupid, sloppy turnovers, or they had a lot of guys injured. I guess a mixture of that. But the defense hasn't really been, and again, injuries played part of it, but the defense just hasn't felt like a Saints, Dennis Allen defense. This game, it finally did. And just guys flying around to the football, a bunch of guys flying around the football. But a bigger thing, they were reading plays. They were correctly predicting plays pre-snap. So they had a phenomenal game plan or film session with this one. The whole team was flying to the ball. I thought Marcus Davenport was standing out to me as well, which he's been a little underwhelming this year. Just flying to the ball, reading plays. Just everyone, everyone getting to the ball, making plays. So I just kind of felt like the Saints defense finally. I know they've been beat up, but so maybe this is kind of turning around. Really, the key is trying to get healthy and taking care of the ball here. Kamara had an absolute monster game. That one touchdown he had, where he kind of had to break through like gang tacklers at the goal line and got in. It was ridiculous. So, I was very shocked to hear some Kamara trade rumors. It was like non-credible sources at first, so I wasn't really talking about it. But NFL.com had like an article which was put together by Rappaport, Garofolo, these guys, and they included him as a trade candidate. But that just shocks me still. I just really don't think they're going to trade him. It would be mind-blowing. So a big game out of him, big game out of the Saints there. It's exactly what they needed. So just surprising, ended up being 24-0. That 0 for the Raiders. It's just shocking, absolutely shocking. Patriots, Jets. Yeah, this game went really how I expected it to go here. Even though the Patriots laid a stinker last week against the Bears, maybe made you want to doubt the Patriots a little bit. And I still am. I'm still pretty worried. Not pretty worried. I'm still, that Bears game is still stuck in my mind where it's like this could happen, and this was just a good matchup, especially with the Jets the first week without Breece Hall, their source of offense, and Elijah Vera Tucker, their best offensive lineman that's filled in at multiple spots. It would have been, that first week trying to adjust. Who's our source of offense versus a Belichick defense who's good at game planning for these, Wilson-type quarterbacks, the Jets in general. It would have been very difficult for me, to see the Jets pull this one off, even though I thought it was going to be close. So, this game kind of went as expected, just a matchup. And Wilson had a rough one. That defense kind of put him in a tough spot. Like Wilson, when he tries to be the guy, it just hasn't worked out. They just really couldn't get much going. At the end, when they're fighting back, there was some explosive plays. Garrett Wilson looking pretty good. Even plays he doesn't do anything. It looks like he might be getting open. He's getting some good separation. The way he moves, the way the footwork is, the body. It reminds me of Justin Jefferson actually a little bit if you watch him. So he has that capability. So maybe he won't be as good as Justin Jefferson. That's high praise. But Wilson was a top pick for a reason. So you can say he could be that guy for sure. I think he's a similar style player. He just needs better quarterback play here. But it was tough missing Breece Hall in a game like this. Wilson kind of let them down there. Was really off, obviously, with some of those throws. And he's a little dangerous. He can escape pressure. That's the good. But the way he does it, and he gets a little carried away, holds the ball a little too long, it's gonna bite him. Sometimes it's gonna hurt him sometimes. So I don't know. Do the Jets still need a quarterback? Big question there. We're gonna need to see some rapid development, if not from Wilson. The defense did enough. It's hard to hold on for that long when you're constantly on the field, especially after turnovers and good field position, so it was tough. But, Mac Jones was pretty close to having a Zach Wilson type game. He kind of got bailed out, which I'm not really disagreeing or agreeing with the call, but that bad pick six, which the Jets could have won the game if that interception resulted in 6 stood. So the Patriots were a little fortunate in this game as well, but this is kind of how I thought it would go down. I didn't think either quarterback could play good. I just thought the Jets, fresh off missing those guys, and the Patriots defense, even though they struggled last week, a little bit different of a matchup, should find a way to figure it out here. So that's kind of what happened here. So I think I predicted 2017, if I remember, 22-17. Patriots much needed to win. The Jets, they were rolling before this, so they're still looking all right in terms of the record. But man, they rely on defense too much, and they were relying on Breece Hall too much. So can they kind of get some things together here, figure things out? We'll see. Steelers and Eagles, yeah, kind of just went as expected here. Just a little more from the Eagles, actually, than expected. I mean, A.J. Brown was ridiculous. At first touchdown grab, went up over two guys and took it. Was kind of up there for grabs. So just a monster play from A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown coming out, Ole Miss, I think people labeled him just kind of like, you just kind of give him the ball, quick plays, gadget plays, let him go to work because he's so good after the catch. But people didn't realize he's a lot more than that. We saw that in Tennessee as well. I still can't believe the Titans traded him. I still can't believe they wouldn't pay him because it wasn't like a stupid amount of money, because he really is one of those do-it-all type receivers, and he's missed some games the last couple of years, and that's kind of what's been holding him back from maybe being in that elite conversation. But we're seeing him healthy this year, and we're seeing him do those things. Like, you could do anything with this receiver, and he literally can do anything you ask of a receiver. So it makes him one of the best in football, in my opinion. But yeah, that first one was pretty much all. I mean, Hurts had to get it there, obviously, but pretty much all A.J. Brown. But the next two, which were pretty much the same thing down the sideline. I mean, these were, and they're good grabs by A.J. Brown. Got the step on the DB. You see the speed, the hands, all that. But these were absolute perfect throws, like elite throws from Jalen Hurts. So it's crazy to see. It's like, I mean, every quarterback kind of has those here and there, but you see like basically two in a row from Jalen Hurts, and you see the improvements he's made, the work he's put in to get, because it's not like it's a fluke or anything. It's like literally he is better. He is getting better. He's learning the game more. I mean, he's getting better. That's pretty much what it is. It's pretty clear. And you like to see him kind of, attack through the air, make some bigger throws to the air, because that's kind of what was missing for this MVP run that he's on, which, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes are in that list big time as well. But yeah, just be more consistent through the air, make some splash plays through the air, get in the end zone a little bit more through the air, So I love seeing that. Pretty good defense against Steelers too. I know they're beat up, but I mean, they've been playing pretty good defense. Mike Tomlin puts these types of quarterbacks in tough situations. He knows how to game plan. So for Hurts, A.J. Brown to come out and do that, it's pretty impressive. I think most people look at it like the Eagles. Yeah, they're on the field. They just beat the Steelers. Steelers are beat up. They're not good. They beat them 35-13. Who cares? That's what's supposed to happen. Look a little deeper. I like the progression. I like they're able to show different things. They're able to keep rolling. So, like what I see from the Eagles, and that pass rush was hitting Pickett all day. I mean, the first half mainly, but it was ridiculous. So, they're making it very difficult for teams right now. Titans, Texans, not the most entertaining game. Unless you were just focused on Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry was pretty entertaining, I suppose. Just went crazy against the Texans again, 4 straight times over 200 yards. He had 100 and whatever yards at halftime already, or early third quarter, whatever it was. And he passed Earl Campbell and Eddie George for Titans' career touchdowns, which is it's pretty good company there. So Henry was ridiculous. Again, it's all they needed. Surprised they didn't run Willis more. You can see Willis wasn't ready. With his throwing, he had the interception. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's on him. Even though the receiver, I think it was Hollister, I think he kind of like flopped instead of going for the ball, but it's still on Willis. He's able to escape pressure, but you can just see he's not really ready. He's got to kind of calm down, go through his reads, not panic as much. So they're gonna need Tannehill back for sure. And I thought, which was obvious, I thought in a game like this, they actually might score more with Willis, because it was kind of last second, no game plan for Willis. The Texans can't stop the run. We saw that with Henry and Hilliard as well. They just can't stop running back. So if Willis was able to use his legs and run, I thought it actually could be tougher for the Texans. We didn't see much of that though. But yeah, the Titans do enough. Felt like they're more comfortable than 17-10. Two of the Texans scored late, tried to kick an onside. Titans defense continues to roll. That defense has been fantastic. I know they're playing the Texans in this game, but that defense has been outstanding, especially with the injuries they've had. So the Titans continue to roll. They've been rolling. They get the job done there. Derrick Henry is insane still. Commanders and Colts, man. I predicted a 1-point game to the Colts. 1-point game to the Commanders is how it finishes here. Colts had this one too. This is a choke. They let this one get away. If you watch this game, early in the game, first half, it's kind of back and forth. I mean, not really with scoring because there was no scoring, but it's like somewhat even. I felt like the Colts maybe outplayed them a little bit. In the second half, it felt like during this game, like the Colts should be beating them up big. Like Like how are they not up big? Like they're outplaying them completely. And then you look, Ellinger had that fumble in the red zone. And then Taylor hasn't been right this year. Had that fumble in the red. And you look back to Wisconsin, Taylor was a fumbler. And even there's games where he would fumble one time, he'd kind of be in the worst times. And you see that in a game like this. He had one earlier in the year as well. It's like, and it shouldn't really be surprising. Like I was a little surprised that the fumbles kind of in a way went away. Not really though, because I remember last year he took care of the ball very well, which kind of helped him have the year that he had. Year before, I remember he had one against the Ravens, which cost the game. If I'm going back 2 years and I remember that. So it actually shouldn't be that much of a surprise. And you really think about it, I kind of talked about it this year too. I mean, the Colts ran a ton of RPO last year at Wentz, and RPO, tends to open up the run game because it ends up being a guessing game for the defense. We got to kind of cover both sides. So that tends to open up things for the running game. So maybe Taylor was, talented. He's obviously a talented back, but maybe overhyped a little bit there. So he's got to be better. And people complain for him to have more carries. I don't know. Just not enough from the Colts team, even though they should have had enough. Like they did enough to, they got stopped in the 1 yard line. Pittman couldn't get in. They end up having to kick a field goal eventually. 2 fumbles, Ellinger's doing the same thing Matt Ryan was doing, a fumble in the red zone there. And they had a shot at the end. Pittman just had an awful drop, just brutal. Paris Campbell looked good. Bright spot. I like Paris Campbell. I like what they're doing with him. Very fun to watch. Electrifying speed, obviously. The defense played great for the Colts most of the game, but then at the end they gave up 10 points in 5 minutes. It's tough. You can't let that happen. And they had a chance to ice the game if Ellinger got a half more yard, got the first down, it pretty much would have been game over. And then they go back on defense, and it was pretty much still like, even though the Commanders, like Heineke's sneaking through for some yards, getting out of bounds, it did feel like it was going to be over still. Like the Commanders needed a touchdown, and then Heineke throws up a prayer to McLaurin, and he gets it on Gilmore. So this is all these things that the Colts couldn't allow happen or needed to execute and didn't. It all went against them there, and it's really only their fault there. But the Commanders, credit to them for clutching up. Red zone defense has been great. I mean, defense was pretty solid throughout this game. The Colts did move the ball better than having 16 points, but they clutched up. The Commanders, Heineke's been clutch. Saw it last week as well against the Packers. He's clutch and needs a first down. He goes and gets it when he escapes. When he's the first down, he could escape. He gets it in any different way, and then he hits that one to McLaurin. Big time contested catch by Terry McLaurin. That was fantastic. Back in his hometown too, which is great. And they go and score. They get the extra point. I think everyone thought they were going to miss the extra point just because that's what kickers do. And they didn't miss it. Colts had a shot though. Pittman had that brutal drop. Really good throw by Ellinger. Even Pittman hasn't really been consistent this year. So I don't know. I don't think it's a Reich problem, which people want to blame. I just don't know if they have the talent out there. They've kind of shied away from getting better. They made questionable trades at the quarterback position, questionable to say the least. Quarterback position. I mean, you got Ellinger playing quarterback. You got offensive line. They kind of relied on development on that. I mean, you got Taylor, who's not really the same as last year. He needs the offensive line to be elite, needs giant holes, can't take care of the ball. Again, he's good still, but I'm just really thinking we overhyped him. People did. They need more receivers. Defensively, they just don't have enough pass rush. Quarterbacks have all day. They're kind of relying on development with that once again. So it just, you really look at it like that. It's like, all right, it kind of makes sense. I thought they were playing, especially the defense was playing a lot better than they looked on paper. I always said that too with Eberflus. He had them playing a lot better than what they looked on paper. So it's kind of just showing now. Even though defense played all right in this game, but you can't give up 10 points in the last 5 minutes, to the Commanders' offense. So tough one, clutch win for the Commanders. The Commanders, I keep saying all these teams keep rolling. The Commanders are rolling right now. Maybe it hasn't been the prettiest thing, but some good wins. Obviously, last week against the Packers stands out. We have the Vikings next week. I think two teams have been clutch. Commanders, Vikings, they've been clutch at the end of both of them. Been clutch at the end of the game. So who's going to be more clutch? It's in Washington. It actually should be a fun game. Niners and Rams. Early in this game, I felt like the Rams. Like, I felt like it's close. Niners got a shot. I know they'll figure something out, but the Rams looking pretty good. They had 14 pretty damn early. It's like, all right, maybe here. They were protecting Stafford very well early in this game, which is weird because they haven't been able to protect at all. They haven't been able to block anybody, and Stafford's been a mess under pressure as well. So it was and it's the 49ers defensive line. So there was like a portion of this game where it was like that. It was like, that's why I picked the Niners too. And then even when Debo was out, I'm like, that's tough. Do I need to switch to the Rams? Like, no, I picked them because the pass rush and the lack of offensive line, lack of protection for the Rams. So it was very strange, but then they got going. Then they got going a bit. And the offense got going. McCaffrey, I said he was going to make the Rams pay because they almost traded for him. Didn't do it. And he threw a touchdown pass. Good throw, by the way. Ran one in. Ran pretty damn well as well. And had that very good leaping touchdown grab there. And you see the trust that Garoppolo has. Garoppolo, that was a good ball from him. That ball to Kittle, that touchdown towards the end of the game, was a really good concentration, footwork, catch from Kittle. That throw, I think people more talking about that catch. That throw to me was ridiculous. That was an insane throw by Jimmy Garoppolo. So he has that in him. We know he has it in him. I think people will rip Garoppolo a little too much. Last couple weeks he's been a little off. He had some bad turnovers, but Garoppolo's he's got it in him there. He's got it in him. So, the Rams started off good, but it kind of went downhill, and I think that's what it was. Like, if you protect Stafford, he's gonna play very well, and if you don't, you're gonna lose the game. There's gonna be problems. So, they couldn't score anymore. So that it's just pretty clear that's what it was. And the 49ers were rolling. They had some big plays. McCaffrey got going. Ayuk got going. Garoppolo, they got going. They got going here on both sides. So that's really what it was. It's just it's pretty simple. And it's like what I see from the 49ers. When they're healthy and they're on, that's a good team. I've been saying it for weeks. That's a good team. Like, I think that the Eagles are the team to beat right now. But if the Niners are freaking healthy in the playoffs, I'm scared of the Niners more than anyone else. That's the NFC team. That's the NFC team. So for me, but the Eagles are getting better. Like, Hurts improving every week. They're the team to beat right now. They'll probably add somebody else at the deadline. They already added Robert Quinn. So it feels like I'm predicting a Niners-Eagles NFC Championship game right now. I think the whole world almost maybe feels like that's what it should be. We'll see if it actually is. But it'll be a fun one. Giants and Seahawks. Seahawks keep rolling. They're looking good recently. 27-13. The Giants had some mistakes on the punt. Richie James had some mistakes on the punt returns there, which resulted in some points. But other than that, the Seahawks did do enough to win this game. They outplayed the Giants. They had some mistakes as well. They had that fumble inside their own, 3-yard line, which gave the Giants, they were shutting down the Giants. That was the Giants' only touchdown, actually. So they had to start. They got the good play by Adoree Jackson, by the way, which he had some plays in this game. But the Giants got to start right there. That's how they got their touchdown. Lockett dropped a touchdown. There was another drop touchdown. They ended up scoring anyway before that. DK dropped a big catch early in the game. So they had some drops, which was surprising in this game. So Geno maybe played better than what the stats show. I don't even remember what the stats show, but Geno's been lights out. I like the adjustments because the Giants, we know they blitz. They're very good at blitzing. We know Don Martindale loves to blitz. And that was they were getting to Geno instantly. Like, there was the Seahawks offensive line's been good this year, but the Giants presenting them something different, something unique blitz, a lot of the blitz. So how do we pick this up? So great adjustments in the second half. They were better against it. It was still, not pretty, but they were definitely better against it. So credit to that staff. Pete Carroll's a great coach. People forgot that, I think. People were calling for him to be fired. He's too old. Fire him, last year. Now you got a team that people think, and we all thought, was going to be a rebuild type team. And they're good. They're a good team. So, credit to that coaching staff. Defense is getting better because it looked like the first several weeks, it looked like this was one of the worst defenses in football, and it kind of made sense because they have a lot of young guys, a lot of new guys. They don't have Bobby Wagner in there anymore. They're adjusting some things, but sure, they adjusted. Yeah, they sure did because they're looking like a good defense now. Since that Cardinals game, looking like a pretty good defense. It's crazy. So there's a bunch of guys flying around the field. They need to get more consistent pressure though. There's times where Daniel Jones had all day. In this game, they still held them to 13 points, though. So the Seahawks did definitely enough to win this game, and they pulled through there. The Giants been finding ways in the end. You knew it kind of couldn't really keep up here, against a good team in the Seahawks. So the Seahawks, especially in Seattle. So the Seahawks figured out. Yeah, the Giants, I think, rely on their run a little too much. They kind of rely on their underneath throws, the kind of the gadget things. So will it continue? It didn't work, and it didn't continue through this game. Can they kind of get back on track? Defense, the defense played a solid game. The Seahawks had 27 points. They kind of Seahawks kind of left some plays on the field, but the Giants defense still did enough. The offense, maybe not did enough, but they did their part. The offense just needs a little bit more in this game, and they can't fumble the ball on punt return. Obviously there. So Seahawks, very impressive. The Giants have been impressive, better than expected. I believe they got the bye week coming up, so let's see if they kind of can regroup there. But the Seahawks, man, they're a lot better than expected. Packers, Bills, this one kind of went sort of as expected. I predicted 30-20 as 27-17, so 10-point game. Early in this game, I felt like it was going to be an ass beat. Like the Bills are going to really give it to them. They're going to beat them up pretty good. Packers had nothing going on offense very early. Bills were hitting kind of those big plays. The Packers surprisingly have not been able to stop the run this year. There's a lot of explosive runs. We saw from Singletary early. We saw from Cook kind of getting loose. The Packers were fighting back. It just throughout this whole game, you still kind of felt confident with the Bills. Like the Bills got them right now. It feels like they might be outplaying them more than the 10-point lead. The Packers, the defense, it's the Bills, but the defense has been a little underwhelming just because we expect it to be a lot better. They can't really stop the run right now. The Packers, Romeo Doubs had some big plays. Obviously, that touchdown early, so it's good to see that. Not good to see is Watson getting hurt early on, just coming back from injury. I was curious to see. I got to look up stats now because I was curious to see how many. It's tough, though, because they were down not so big, but they were down early, and they ran the ball plenty of times. Aaron Jones, I didn't realize he had that many yards. Aaron Jones, I know he ripped off a big one early, like 30-yard, 32 it says, 20 for 143, 7.2 average. So Aaron Jones had himself a day, and it could say, maybe he gets that many yards, 7.2 average, maybe you should give him the ball a little bit more, but they were playing from down, so it is tough. The Bills been number one in run defense, too. I think it's because teams are trying to throw on them a lot. So at least they got the run game going. It was good. They had that going for them. I thought Doubs had a pretty good game. Dillon did get hurt. He was having a good game, 10 for 54. He was having a good game as well. So at least they ran the ball, but it just wasn't enough. Only 17 points. Rodgers had another interception, which was interesting. And then Josh Allen actually had two. That last one, I don't know what he was doing on that one. But then they pissed Diggs off at one point. Diggs ended up going crazy after that. What did he end up? 108 yards. I'm just reading stats for this recap, even though I watched every snap of the game. It just kind of went as expected a little bit. But it was, early in this game, it looked like it was really going to be a beatdown. It didn't really end up being that, but the Bills had firm control of the game. They could have won by more if it wasn't, I think that last turnover by Allen, but what are you going to do? And you could say that they were pretty sloppy in the second half, and they still beat a Packers team, which I know they're struggling right now. It's just wild to have a 4-game lead, absolutely wild. But they're still the Packers, still Aaron Rodgers the Packers. So the Bills have the sloppiness, and they're still able to win by 10 prime time against the Packers, holding to 17. So pretty impressive overall. But again, kind of just went as expected. So I don't have a whole lot. Aaron Jones being able to go off like that is kind of a good thing for the Packers. Now do it. The last few games were winnable. They didn't have to come back from down big, and they weren't really running the ball. They would abandon it too early, give up on it too early, or they were running well. They just weren't running enough. So now going forward, run the damn football. That's your game. I know you have Aaron Rodgers. It's very tough to believe, to understand, but that's your game. That's your game. Run the football. Run to open up the pass. Make it even easier for Rodgers, which is when things are easier for a Hall of Fame type player like an MVP caliber player, even though it may not look like it this year so far, wonderful things could happen. So that's just really what the Packers need to do going forward. We have a Monday Night Football game tonight, which is interesting now that Jamar Chase is out. Makes it, I think, a game go either way. But we'll be covering that in the trade deadline on Twitter, so follow us. There's a link down below for that. Many other things. Like, subscribe to notifications on. We also cover everything NFL on the channel. Trade deadline videos on the channel, more to come, so join us. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.